Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to another episode of Kendo Video Feedback. Okay, here we are again for another episode of Kendo Video Feedback. In this series of videos, this is where I take a video that one of you wonderful viewers has sent in to me of your Kendo practice or grading or shiai or whatever for a little bit of feedback. Now, before we get stuck in, first thing I'd say, as I always say on these videos, is I don't want any negative sort of comments down there or anything like that. I'll just delete them straight away. You know, obviously, this person, as the people before them, have been brave enough and kind enough to share this footage with us. So hopefully we can all learn from it. So I don't want any sort of trolling or stupid comments. If you think you can do better, feel free to send in a video and we'll have a look and we'll be the judge of that, eh? And also don't forget as well, you know, with the whole YouTube, like, share, subscribe stuff, but most importantly, support the channel by shopping at KendoStar.com. Of course, I'd say that I own a place, but it is the best Kendo shop in the entire galaxy. And if you don't believe me, why would you not believe me? But even if you didn't believe me, of course, I've got a vested interest. So check out our Trustpilot rating. That is a completely independent reviews aggregate, only from verified customers. It's not possible to put fake reviews on there. And you'll see we're actually one of the best rated e-commerce websites, not just burger shops, actual e-commerce websites on the entire internet. So yeah, get to KendoStar.com. Right, so today we are looking at a grading exam for first dan, for shodan. We've got two clips to look at. The candidate was successful, I understand. So we'll have a look at it, see what went well and what potentially could have gone better, and maybe what you need to do for next time. Okay, let's get stuck in. Okay, so our candidate is the taller of the two here. Okay, good. I can see why you passed. Definitely fine for shodan. Okay, I'd like to see an improvement on your fumikomi, okay? You're doing your fumikomi very well sometimes and not so well other times. So we want that little bit more consistency in order to get through the next stage, okay? So I want you to work on that. See that there? You see that? They see this fumikomi here? This one here, it's not really a fumikomi, is it? It's kind of just a hop on the spot. So let's just look at that one more time so you can see what I mean. This one here, it's just a hop on the spot, and your posture here, can you see how it's sort of this sort of shape? So your hips are left behind, so you're not really getting decisive strike. All right, so that's something to work on going forward. I want you to be careful as well after hitting kote not to raise your hands this way either. That's not the correct way to finish kote. You can't really make an effective strike after that or defend yourself after that. All right, kote this way, your sort of energy goes backwards after striking. Instead, after hitting kote, pound this way. And if you need to strike again, you can strike again. Or if you need to defend, you can defend. All right, but not this way. Okay. Overall good though. I can definitely see why you managed to pass. Sorry, I know that I'm blocking part of the video here. I need to be somewhere. Very good. But again, here I'd like to see a little bit more developed fumikomi. I'm gonna have a look at the other video as well. So. Good, very good. Okay, right. Let's have a look at the second match. Okay, so this is the second round. You're again on the right hand side. This is something I'll address as well. Something a lot of people get confused at, especially at the earlier gradings, is where they need to be. It looks like there's a line marked out on the floor. So just be aware of that when you're going for these gradings. Yeah, let's just make sure that we're actually reaching the kaishisen, the actual, what do you call it, the line. When you enter the court, this is a common misconception. You don't have to only take one step into the court, all right? You don't need to just take one. You can take as many as you need. So walk into the court, judging how far you can make it to that line within 3 steps, all right? Walk in, okay, that's 3 steps. Nei, taito, 1, 2, 3, sonkyo on the line, okay? You don't need to necessarily only take one step in, all right? And then you won't end up miles away. Okay, let's have a look. So let's just address the kamae, okay? We've talked about this in a lot of these videos. It's hard to see because it's a bit dark, but your kamae is making that sort of S shape that I've talked about before. Can you see that? How your head's in front and you're sort of, you know, your back's, your shoulders sort of behind, and then your hips are forward and your knees are behind. So you've got this kind of S shape going on. Whereas what I want to see is a more of a triangle or an A shape like this, all right? So what you need to do, you need to push your shoulders forward. And what you need to do in your specific case is your shoulder blades. I want you to try them, once you're in your kamae, I want you to try and push your shoulder blades together and then sit your neck on top of your hips, all right? Because your head at the minute is a little bit forward. So head straight, like someone's measuring how tall you are, and shoulder blades together, all right? And that will be a much more dignified and much more effective kamae, okay? Okay, I'm going to address this one as well, all right? Look, I get it. This is a common thing for gradings, especially in the lower ranks, where you sort of hit and then you go off into the distance with no regard for the opponent. It's not really correct zanshin. Gets you through shodan, probably get you through nidan, but look, you need to start getting to grips now properly with what zanshin actually is. After this, we'll have a little look at another example that I can show you to try and illustrate my point a bit better, okay? You see how this sort of awkwardness happens? This shouldn't happen either, right? Now, it's fine for shodan, but when you get in for nidan, sandan, see how you sort of collide with them and there's this kind of, and then you kind of run off anyway? It's not necessary. It's not necessary to run off in the distance here, okay? I want you to kind of improve your footwork to the point where you can control your weight distribution so that after you strike, you're not slamming into them and there's a sort of awkward sort of bump between you and your partner. And then you're like, oh, what do I do? Okay, go past. It's a bit forced, if you see what I mean. Okay, as much as possible as well, I know I'm throwing a lot at you now, but I want you to try and focus on keeping your left heel off the ground. You just put it down a little bit too often. You're fine when you're in your kamae, but I've noticed a couple of times that your left foot is hitting the floor, especially when you're doing your suriashi. See here, it's flat on the ground. All right, so we need to cut that out, okay? I think there's a bit of a consciousness here as well, because obviously your opponent's much smaller than you, that you're perhaps holding back, which isn't a bad thing necessarily, but can you see how it's affecting your datote in that your strikes aren't crisp and they're not clean? You're just kind of touching, so you know, you're lacking the tenuichi as well. I know I'm throwing a lot at you here, all right? I'm throwing a lot at you here. This is a video. You can go back and watch it as many times as you want over the next 12 months, okay? So don't worry if you can't do them all at once. What I would say, though, is you do need to work on that tenuichi, okay? So when at the moment of the strike, the left hand pulls and the right hand pushes just momentarily, so you get that snap. At the minute, it's a bit of a like this, and it needs to be a like this, yeah? So work on that too. Okay, so what I think the main things I want to, now we're at the end there, the main things I really want you to take away from this are, one, we need to fix that kamae, okay? Push those hips back, neck straight, shoulders back, like someone's measuring how tall you are, all right? Second, I want you to control your weight distribution so that when you make a strike, if the opponent doesn't move out of the way, because they don't move out of the way, they only do that in kihon or practice, yeah? If the opponent doesn't move out of the way, that you're not just sort of bumping into them, a bit like in this interaction here, and there's this sort of awkward push-pull sort of thing. If you go and watch now look, I'm not saying you have to do Kendo the same as the top level players in Japan, but if you go and watch their matches, this doesn't happen. Yeah, it doesn't happen. If you watch the 8th Dan Championships, you watch the All Japan Championships, or go and watch some high level gradings. We'll watch in a minute. Another example. But this kind of sort of awkward interaction doesn't happen, all right? Because there's a better control of the weight distribution and a better control of the sort of interaction after the strike's made if the opponent doesn't necessarily go in the direction we want them to go in, all right? So we don't end up getting stuck, if you know what I mean. So that's the next thing. And then the last thing is I just want you to sort of look at this zanshin here, yeah? How after your strike, your concentration is away from your opponent. It's away from your opponent. It's on going through, because probably that's what you've been taught is correct zanshin, but it's not technically right. Okay, it can't be a zanshin if your intention or your concentration's away from the partner, from the opponent. All right, shouldn't generally, you should, you know, the amount of time you have your eyes away from your opponent has to be minimal. All right, if they're at all, okay. Now this is fine for Shodan, all right, it's absolutely fine for Shodan, but working towards Nidan and Sandan, that is definitely something that I really want you to fix. All right, so I know I've thrown a lot at you there. Very good grading, very well done on passing the exam, very well deserved. No problem at all. But in terms of stepping up, going forward, getting through the next couple, I really want you to think about those few points. So that you can, you know, get through them without encountering any obstacles. Okay, so just before we finish today, I've pulled up this video. It's one I've literally just searched it on YouTube. I just typed in Japanese Kendo Sandan Shinsa. Okay, so this is a third Dan exam. Now I appreciate that you sent the video in. You've just taken first Dan, good, and your next one's second Dan. And Sandan's maybe a few more years down the line, but I want to address this, and I'll probably do a separate video on this specific video as well, but I just want to highlight it a little bit because it does illustrate the points that I've been making. Now, like I say, I know it's not the next one, it's the one above that, but actually the criteria for Shodan, Nidan, Sandan are basically the same. What you're trying to do in your Shodan and Nidan exams is you're trying to do the same stuff you have to do to pass Sandan. It's just that Sandan, it all has to be right. Yeah. Whereas there's maybe maybe at Shodan you can get sort of 50 to 60% of it right and pass, and maybe Nidan you can get sort of 70, 80% of it right and you pass. Whereas Sandan you need really sort of 95 to 100% of it right to get through the exam. So if you look at the Sandan as the example, and then you're trying to, it's how far or how close you are to attaining that as to whether you can get through those Dan grades in between, I think is a good way to think about it. So as I say, this might be a slightly higher level than you're looking at. Also, I would say that this is from Japan, it's third Dan, so probably the people doing this exam are probably quite young, maybe sort of 16, 17, something like that. So, you know, 17, 18 probably. So obviously they're going to move very fast. It doesn't matter though. I'm not saying do the WADA as fast as these guys. All right. The points I'm going to make are what are relevant to what we just watched. Okay. So let's have a watch. Okay. Okay, so straight away, the first thing we have is an interaction of men versus Kaishido, and as soon as this person realizes that they've had the door and the opponent's gone the other way, they start to turn around. They don't just go off in the distance, man, like this, all right? Their intention, first and foremost, is towards their opponent. The person hitting the door is also the same. They hit the door, they move out of the way quickly. You have to break eye contact momentarily when you hit the door, but straight away you turn around, kamae zanshin. All right, so their intention is always towards their opponent. It's not broken with this kind of forced kind of man in the distance, all right? Okay, here, see how the opponent didn't move. He did the kote man, opponent didn't move. So he bumped into him, but immediately started to gain the distance by moving backwards instead. This is zanshin. Kept the eyes on the opponent, didn't kind of try to push past and get stuck like this, and then forced the way past it, man, into the distance like this, all right? I know that is the sort of conventional teaching that we have to hit and go past for zanshin, but I'm sorry, I just think it's wrong. Because it doesn't manifest in higher level kendo, right? So how can it be right? Okay, same sort of thing here. This time, again, he's pam pam, and the opponent's gonna move out of the way, so he finishes his waza in front of the opponent, pam pam, and then returns. All right, this is also zanshin, yeah? Keeping in intention, focus at the opponent, okay? And there's some sense of aiki between them both, okay? Neither of them are just acting on their own. They kind of are, but there's a flow to this, all right? It's cohesive, right? There's a good example, okay? Both of them do men. This way, turn around, they don't break eye contact. This is what, you know, this is correct. And look, I'm telling you, you can write in the comments, whoever's watching this, my sensei says you have to cut past and stuff like that. Fine. They might say that. And they might say, well, do your grading like that? Are you telling me this guy, or either of these guys, go in a Shodan exam, the one you just did, and they're going to fail because they didn't turn their back on their opponent? Of course they're not. Of course they're not, right? Because they're doing it right. Yeah? So obviously, I'm not saying ignore your sensei or something like that, but we have to make some sort of move away from this kind of wrong idea that we have, that you have to hit and then run with your back to your opponent with no regard from whatsoever. Yeah, because there's nowhere that seems to show that being the correct case. Yeah. Now, in Kihon and Uchikomi and in Kirikaishi, we do pass like that, right? And it's a drill, it's an exercise to improve our footwork and our momentum. It's not a manifestation of zanshin, all right? Zanshin doesn't look like that. It looks like what we're seeing in this video, all right? See how they're keeping a connection with each other. It's not broken, all right? This isn't I'm not saying this is a perfect example either. It's not a perfect example. But yeah, it's Sandan, right? It's good enough for Sandan. And what I want to get across as well, finally, is, yeah, whether you're going for Shodan, Nidan, or Sandan, think of Sandan as the 100%, all right, the 100 points. And to pass Shodan, you've got to score, let's say, 50 to 60. You pass Nidan, you've got to score 70 to 80. And if you pass Sandan, you've got to score 95 to 100. Let's think of it something like that, all right? That's just rough. I've made that up off the top of my head. So don't go away and quote that to anyone. I just made it up right now. But that's the kind of idea, yeah, the impression I want you to have. It's not that, right, for Shodan, you have to do X. For Nidan, you have to do Y, and for Sandan, you have to do Z. You know, it's not like that, right? The criteria is the same for all three. It's just you've got to demonstrate at a higher level, right? So you don't have to do, X was. I sometimes hear this sort of. I'm going off on a rant now, so I'll wrap this up in a sec. But I sometimes hear this like, oh, for Nidan, you have to do Nidan waza, because some people like get confused with the two terms Nidan waza and Nisandan waza. It's not connected. And or like, oh, for Yondan, you have to do Kaishi do. It's like, what? Where does it say that? Nowhere. So don't you know? There's a lot of fake news out there on these sort of grading things, but the easiest way is watch these things, watch examples like this, and you'll get the answers. They're in there for you. All right, and I'm here to stand in the middle and hopefully act as a bit of a bridge between it all. Okay, rant over. I hope that was helpful for you. All right, I know we did sort of pull up another video as well, but. Yeah, well done on passing your Shodan exam. I hope this was helpful for everybody watching. I hope there was something for everybody to take away from it. And yeah, thanks for joining me. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, shop at KendoStar, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.